everyone. We've got a few folks here at Relativity that are working really hard to deliver Aero. And by way of introduction, I'm Liz Lieberman. I'm a product marketing manager working on the Aero UI.
Hi, I'm Brian Hunt. I lead the user experience team at Relativity.
Hi, I'm Stacy Soliday. I'm a product manager working on Aero tab navigation and header.
Hi everyone, my name is Kyle Disterheft. I'm a group product manager at Relativity, overseeing aspects of the Aero UI.
Can you all tell me what you think it means to be simply powerful?
This phrase is really important to me as we think about the work being done with RelativityOne. So to me, simply powerful is really about meeting the user where they are. It's about caring for them empathetically through the software. So what I mean, if you're a first-time user who's been asked to come in and create an investigation, begin an investigation, you've got a very specific task you want to accomplish. Your goal is well-defined, and the system should be able to care and cater to what you're trying to do without inflating your workflow with things that don't make sense for you, without you having to sort of process a bunch of content and items on the page that's not specific to your workflow. And similarly, if you're a veteran e-discovery case admin, well, the software would be set up to facilitate your workflow as well. This would include support for all the fine tuning and nuance that a specific case or matter might require. So really caring for the user empathetically and what they're trying to do in the software.
It's actually pretty simple to create a simple experience, but bringing order to a complex process so that it feels simple, like that's the real hard thing. So Relativity has so much power underneath it that when you apply simple UI treatments and vision to that, all you're doing is accentuating that power. And that's unique to Relativity. Like, there's not a lot of folks who can do what we do on a single platform, and accentuating that power through a easier user experience. Those two words together, like you can't have one without the other, in my opinion. Simple without utility is just useless. Simple with power, that's where the real value lies. So that's kind of what that phrase means to me. They have to live together to be true.
Can you give me an idea of what's all coming with Aero and what customers can expect when it comes to Aero UI being simply powerful?
Sure, I can start with the changes you'll see, right when you log in with the new header and navigation. So the first thing is in the header, we're introducing breadcrumbs, which will help navigate a user by showing them the current page that the user's on. You can think of it as similar to a folder path. We're also introducing a new left-hand navigation pane called the sidebar. So now there'll be 3 levels of tabs, and we really designed this for a few key benefits. So the first is increased discoverability. We really want high visibility for the most frequently used apps and tabs. We also are putting icons with those tab names on the sidebar, which will make it easier to remember the tab placement. You can do an easy eye scan for the intended tab you want instead of having to read through a lot of tabs.
I'll include the discussion to talk about the new document viewer. We're really excited about the rebuilt document viewer with Aero UI. This document viewer prioritizes performance. And so we can't wait for people to be going doc to doc, to be bouncing back and forth between different tabs and opening documents quickly. It's lightning fast. At the same time, we expect users to see performance improvements throughout the software. So we feel like a big part, and we believe that a big part of the user experience is the performance. And so we've been optimizing pages, rebuilding pages, doing a lot of work to make sure that this feels really fast, feels really zippy, and that users can enjoy their time in the software.
There's some things underneath this that will benefit the end user as far as like the speed at which you will get updates, the speed at which we will take your feedback and incorporate that into product. So there's also kind of a cultural movement underneath Aero within Relativity to develop product differently.
That's a great tee up to the next question I had for the group. And while Aero is fundamentally a UI that we're delivering later this year, I think it represents a shift we're making in how we're building and designing software. So can you all tell me a little bit about how this philosophy and this new approach to building and designing software has impacted the work that you're doing, and how does that contribute to Aero UI?
Yeah, I can start with this one. So the philosophy, like very early, we just looked at this and said, how can we accentuate and maximize the immense amount of power that relativity gives a user? Like every decision we're making is based upon like removing that friction, allowing the user to accomplish their tasks far more quickly and intuitively. So that's kind of the internal philosophy. And part of that philosophy was also introducing like a new iterative way of developing the product that I mentioned about. So in the past year, from the UX perspective, we have completely revamped our prototyping and user research processes. So part of Aero was a fundamental change in how my team is delivering stuff as well.
I would add to that, one of the really helpful new practices that we've started using as a product group is quantifying a lot of aspects of the user experience. So this means setting baselines for common workflows. How many mouse clicks does it take to import documents? How many linear feet of cursor travel does it take to, for instance, review 10 documents or to export documents? So we as a product group have baselined dozens of these workflows across multiple sort of UX measurement criteria. And as we've been making improvements, we've been able to now say, for instance, we've reduced the time to value in creating a new case by 30%. Or for instance, we've cut down the number of mouse clicks across this common ECA workflow by 15. And it just eliminates a lot of the subjective nature of kind of this feels better, or I think I like this, but maybe you don't. So trying to really be scientific in the improvements that we're making.
Can you all tell me what you're most excited about with Aero?
Maybe I'll give myself an escape route by saying one of the things I'm most excited about is the experience for first-time users. So when I think about folks who have not used Relativity before, often entering the platform for the first time, sort of seeing all of the tools on the wall, all of the possible things they could do, configuration changes, it can be overwhelming. And so oftentimes you need that expert there to sort of hold your hand and tell you what course to follow. And so with the Aero UI, I'm really excited for the first-time users to be able to come into the system, to be able to more easily understand what they need to do first, and to be able to have sort of that success right off the bat without having to spend time looking at training videos, without having to rope in an admin to understand something. That first-time experience is going to be awesome.
And I'll add on to what Kyle said, because I'm a relatively new user to Relativity. Learning how to use the software the first time is really fresh in my mind. So I think that a lot of the changes that we have made will make it so much easier for a user to come in for the first time and really understand all of the capabilities that are available to them. And I think that one thing that's been great about this design process has been how much we've leveraged actual user feedback to incorporate changes. So I think one of my favorite design principles is you are not your target user. And I think that we've really taken that and instead of just implementing what internally we in Relativity like, especially because we're all extremely comfortable, we've taken an outside look and tried to think about a user that isn't as comfortable in Relativity or is just seeing it for the first time, and creating an experience that's good for them while not taking any capabilities away from our more power users.
Yeah, I like every phase for me is like the most important or the most like exciting for me. So going back to Fest, like when we debuted the prototype at Fest, and I'm like, oh wow, this is great. Like, but honestly, like every phase of this, I get more and more excited. So the one we're at now is what Kyle was talking about, which is like how are customers reacting to it and using it. So for sure, that was the moment for me to actually see all of this hard work in software being used on actual work. So everything up to now has been prototypes and user testing and demo environments. We actually are observing real customers doing real work in Aero, and the feedback has been tremendous so far. So The next phase, I'm sure that will be the most exciting for me. There's tons of things like I'm really interested for third-party developers to get a hold of Aero in the future and start building and designing applications that fit seamlessly into Relativity. That's looking out a little bit further, but Aero just has so much potential to do a lot for the consumer, but also internally for Relativity.
Thank you all for that. I'm most excited for everybody to get their hands on it later this year. We've got a ton of content coming out for Aero UI throughout the summer. We will have a ton of training content available at GA, including reviewer training videos, navigation and viewer quick reference guides, as well as a totally re-architected documentation site that has all the up-to-date information on Aero. So a lot of information to come, and we look forward to hearing how it's going in your production instance come Q3.